Canada's trade relations with the Trump administration are making Canada look elsewhere for trade and security. A long-term ally, the United States is no longer a friend as it used to be before, and trust is broken. Canadians are angry about Trump's tariffs imposed on a friendly country. Canada has no option but to find new partners in trade and security. Now Canada has found a new friend in Australia and signed an agreement worth 6 billion Canadian dollars to develop a new military radar system for Arctic region, which is crucial for Canada's security. The Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced a 6 billion Canadian dollars deal with Australia to develop an Arctic radar system and warned that Canada must take more responsibility for its defense as US priorities shift. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says the deal on over-the-horizon radar is part of the effort to assert Canada's sovereignty over the Arctic. Currently, in the midst of its worst diplomatic spat with the United States in years, Canada collaborates on security with its southern neighbor, but has also long disagreed over the extent of Canadian sovereignty in the Arctic. Canada insists that the Northwest Passage through Arctic waters lies exclusively within Canadian territory, while the US asserts that the sea lane is in international waters. Carney has previously described the US under President Donald Trump as a country Canada can no longer trust and characterized the radar deal as part of a broader effort to assert Canadian sovereignty over the Arctic. Carney said the world is changing. International institutions and norms that have kept Canada secure are now being called into question, and the United States' priorities, our ally, once closely aligned with our own, are beginning to shift. We cannot and should not look first to others to defend our nation. Before I proceed, please consider showing your support by clicking the like button. Your engagement helps to connect with more viewers like you. Thank you for your support. Moreover, if you have any suggestions, comments, or additional insights, please let me know in the comment section below. Australia is a leader in over-the-horizon radar, an advanced system that allows for continuous threat tracking over a vast area. The radar system's long-range surveillance and threat tracking capabilities will detect and deter threats across the north of Canada. The new network will replace an aging Cold War-era North Warning System, which relies on radar stations from Alaska to northern Quebec that are incapable of responding to modern missile threats. Ottawa will also invest an additional 420 million Canadian dollars to boost Canada's year-round military presence in the far north. Carney said, "Securing Canada is an absolute strategic priority of this government. We will need to do more." Canada made Arctic security a priority even before Trump returned to office, amid concern about possible Russian aggression as melting ice caused by climate change increasingly opens the region for resource extraction. However, Trump's repeated questioning of Canadian sovereignty has sparked renewed focus on national defense in Canada, which once viewed its security ties with Washington as ironclad. Also, Canada's Defense Minister Bill Blair announced plans for 3 new Arctic military hubs with airstrips and equipment depots. Recently, Carney said that Canada must find new best friends and build new alliances. He said Canada must be looking elsewhere to expand our trade, to build our economy, and to protect our sovereignty. Canada is ready to take a leadership role in building a coalition of like-minded countries who share our values. We believe in international cooperation. His actions also indicate that Canada is actively looking to find new friends and allies in Europe and the Asia-Pacific region. Following his recent swearing-in as Prime Minister, Mark Carney's first international visit was to France, followed by a trip to the UK to strengthen Canada's ties with European countries. Carney has recently held conversations with the leaders of Germany and Mexico. Now Canada has finalized an agreement with Australia to provide a new radar surveillance system for the Arctic region. But why is Arctic security crucial for Canada as well as the US? China and Russia have been coordinating actively in the Arctic. In July last year, the US Department of Defense warned that growing cooperation between Russia and China in the region has the potential to alter the Arctic's stability and threat picture. US and Canadian forces intercepted Russian and Chinese bombers flying together near Alaska that same month, while the nation's two navies have operated together in international waters off the Alaskan coast in 2022 and 23, according to the US military. And as US President Donald Trump doubles down on his interest in controlling Greenland, a semi-autonomous Danish territory in the region, Denmark has also been investing more in regional security, saying in January that it would spend $2.05 billion to boost its own military capabilities in the Arctic. Many defense agreements are at risk between Canada and the US. The story begins with the huge unnecessary tariffs imposed by Trump after he took office. Trump imposed 25% tariffs on steel, aluminum, and automobiles despite the ironclad friendship between the two countries starting from World War II. Canada's 80% of goods goes to the US, and these tariffs are going to hurt it the most. So Canada also imposed similar tariffs on US imported goods and reviews many collaborations such as F-35 fighter jet deal cancellation, imposing toll tax on trucks going to Alaska through Canada, halting crude oil supply and electricity supply are among them. F-35 deal is the largest investment by Canada in the Royal Canadian Air Force in more than 30 years. Notably, the full life cycle of the F-35 program is expected to cost 70 billion Canadian dollars. Trump's tariffs till now. Recently, Trump unveiled a list imposing tariffs from 10% to 50% on almost all countries in the world, especially countries with a trade surplus with the United States. However, Canada and Mexico were not on that list, as Trump had already imposed tariffs on these two countries. Now Trump has paused those tariffs for 90 days for all countries except for China. China retaliated with 84% tariffs in response to Trump's 104% tariffs. But now Trump again imposed 125% tariffs on China and also warned further retaliation. Canada's reciprocal tariffs on the US. Now Canada has started imposing a 25% tariff on certain vehicle imports from the US, retaliating against a similar measure from its neighbor. The Canadian car tariffs come after Trump's import taxes of 25% on cars entering the US came into effect. Taxes on car parts are set to start next month. Canada's future plans after Trump's tariffs. Recently, Prime Minister Mark Carney had a phone conversation with Trump on March 28. Carney said that he and Trump reached a consensus that the newly elected Prime Minister would initiate the negotiations for a new economic and security partnership with Trump. However, Canada is actively looking for new friends in Europe and Asia Pacific, as Trump is unpredictable and Canada cannot rely on the US as much as before. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for new videos on important international topics.